Alright, yeah, I suck one dick.
My first time listening to Joji was his EP, In Tongues. It was after a breakup and it couldn't have come at a better time. I was entranced by the music with its use of mesmerizing instrumentals and harmonic vocals. I couldn't get enough of it, the strong feeling of nostalgia, but in a weird, twisted, demonic way. Little did I know of the sort of emotions Joji, or George Miller, had been going through as an artist. His desire to leave his past, but his past not leaving him. There had been much fear and sadness behind his journey as an artist, but he was only just beginning. This is the evolution of Joji. George Miller began his musical journey in his home of Japan, where he often found himself surrounded by water, such as rivers and rice fields, developing his love for quiet and peaceful things. Growing up, he made comical songs with his friends in school, like trash-talking a teacher and making fun of a fellow student. He began listening to lo-fi SoundCloud music, taking inspiration from it and the experience of making songs before to further mature and improve his music. As a way to promote it, he started the Disaster Music YouTube channel, where he uploaded skits and rants, including his first appearance as Filthy Frank,
I was dripping shit from my ass,
and Pink Guy.
I do.
Characters that would go on to dominate the internet. His first song, Who's the Sucker, would come after 24 uploads of skits and rants. It was his attempt at gangster rap as he explored American culture through the internet. His channel continued steamrolling with success as he uploaded skits and rants that he made as the character Filthy Frank and Pink Guy. He would eventually go on to create more characters for the Filthy Frank show and invent the Harlem Shake. He had become an internet icon at this point and a legend on YouTube, becoming well known for his grotesque and edgy content. However, his place on YouTube had lost its original purpose, which was to pursue his passion of music. George knew that his characters of the Filthy Frank show had grown too far at this point to simply drop and pursue music instead. To accommodate his fans and himself, he decided to have the best of both worlds by blending the two together. He would create music as his character, Pink Guy, by producing genuine songs but with raunchy lyrics consistent to the content and continuity of the Filthy Frank show.
Yeah. I still masturbate while eating top ramen at a faster rate, and the bigger quantities it counts as rape when I'm slurping at this unbelievable pace. I turn the
Under the alias Pink Guy, he released 3 major projects: Pink Guy, Pink Season, and Pink Season The Prophecy, which all did commercially well, especially considering the nature of the music and the fact that he came from YouTube. However, he kept his serious musical talents more low-key, releasing singles, Dumplings, and We Fall Again under a separate account, Pink Omega, barely mentioning it on his main channels.
We fall again, we fall again. We fall again. We fall again.
These songs would be later put on his Pink Season album. 2 more singles, Thom and You Suck Charlie, were released under a false alias. Once it was discovered it was Joji behind the account, he had confessed and announced his full project, Chloe Burbank Volume 1. It was a complete 180 from his music as Pink Guy. Instead of obnoxious and immature music, with Chloe Burbank we got to see the true nature of Joji, with classical piano and mellow beats. We can see that his love of quiet, peaceful things has grown into a love of chill and lo-fi music. With overwhelming support from fans and friends, regardless of simultaneous criticisms and hate as he broke the 4th wall of the Filthy Frank show, George was finally given the push to serious music. This combined with the stress of producing the show, triggering his neurological condition, causing him seizures.
I have not been well the last couple months. Long story short, I was born with this, but I was recently diagnosed with a brain condition that ironically it gives me seizures. A lot of the seizures are actually induced by stress, which unfortunately a lot of it comes from running this show. Because a lot of the stress came from the idea that you guys don't realize that I exist as well as a human. People not knowing that I existed and that it was just these guys really gave me a lot of stress, you know, because I'm a normal person, just like the rest of you guys. Also,
He was no longer happy with the content he was making as Filthy Frank, especially since it was no longer challenging anymore. As time went on, he grew tired of his humor, and so did other people. He was also losing money as a result of trying to advance his content. It got to the point where he turned to alcohol as a remedy for his pain, falling into a heavy state of depression for a year. I wanted to make this video staying away from Joji's history as Filthy Frank as much as possible, to respect his wishes of leaving behind his past. But I realized that you can't really talk about Joji without at least acknowledging it. Like it or not, much of the fear and insecurities of his past molded who Joji is today. As an artist, he was no longer producing obnoxious, in-your-face music. He was now producing music to pull our heartstrings, singing about meaningful topics. Instead of putting things out of fear or for the sake of it, he was now only putting things out that he wants to put out, releasing singles under 88 Rising, before finally releasing his EP in Tongues. With this new EP, we explore more of the true nature of Joji that we were teased of in Chloe Burbank. He opens up about his inner demons, such as depression, heartbreak, and his desire to escape from his previous identity. On the song Windows, he hints about his suicidal thoughts, mentioning how he wants to sleep and leave forever.
I just wanna sleep forever. Please just let me leave forever. I don't need
Another mention of his depressive past can be found on Pills, mentioning Zoloft and Xanax, drugs used for depression and anxiety. The visuals found throughout all of the EP play into his painful past as well, hiding his true self behind a smile, damaged identity, and the feeling of suffocation and imprisonment. However, Filthy Frank fans were unsure about his plans for YouTube, prompting him to officially state that he was ending the series. He started doing comedy at first because he felt like he had no other talents, even though he would later dominate the internet and break into the music industry.
Yes!
And as he disconnected himself from his past of comedy, he's been more vulnerable than ever, struggling in interactions as he resists reverting back to his former characters. A factor that may contribute to his fear of the thoughts of others could be growing up in the society of Japan. He mentions how Japanese society is more standardized, where people are more expected to line up in formation, unlike the individualization of Western societies. With an official push as Joji, he was now able to make music that he wanted to hear. He specifies that his alias, Joji, isn't a character like those he played in the past. Ultimately, it wasn't just a transition in his career, but in his life as well. With the release of Ballads 1, his first studio album, he experiments a lot, notably with pop, R&B, and trap, while still maintaining some of the lo-fi aesthetics of his previous projects. It was a bit of a hit-or-miss album with a notable lack of focus. Longtime fans of Joji would come back disappointed to find that much of the chill and lo-fi aesthetic that they had come to love had been lost or replaced with louder instrumentals. Of course, it ultimately comes down to taste. However, there were definitely some highlights amid the barrage of songs, such as Can't Get Over You,
I can't get over you. Can't get over you.
Test Drive,
She don't wanna tell lies. She don't wanna tell lies. She just wanna feel alive. She just wanted more time.
and especially Slow Dancing in the Dark. Then, out of the blue, things started to change with his release of Sanctuary and the lack of lo-fi and moody sounds. Suddenly, we got a much more clean and pop-sounding song. A bit afterwards, Run was released, further showcasing this new sound Joji had developed over the years, similar to Wanted You from Ballads 1, especially with the incredible heavy guitar solo towards the end. Then finally, we got Gimme Love, showcasing and emphasizing his growth and evolution as an artist, announcing his next studio album, Nectar, would release July 10th.
Look into your heart and let me know.
With the release of these 3 new singles, I'm excited to see what Joji has in store for us. While some have missed his chill, lo-fi sound of Chloe Burbank and In Tongues, myself included, I don't think that was ever Joji's goal. He wanted to make music for sure, but above all, he just wanted to be happy, making what he wanted to hear. He's had an interesting career development, from the guy in a pink leotard screaming on the internet, to the moody R&B singer making it on Billboard charts. For such a large portion of his life, he's been living under the fear of those who look up to him. While there's still a bit of that fear in him, he's definitely doing better, breaking free of his chains and healing. He's no longer tied down and drowning in his own success. He's now roaming free amongst the depth of the stars. Not above us, but with us.